Let's dive into Roxy's training so we can stay consistent at home. Whenever she's doing behaviors that we want to keep seeing, whether that's following our commands or she's just simply being calm and we want to keep seeing that, we want to reinforce and reward that with either praise, petting, or treats. And then with behaviors that we don't want to see, whether that's jumping up on us or she's not following our commands, we're going to follow through with our training equipment so that way we can decrease those unwanted behaviors. So let's go over Roxy's training equipment. This is her slip collar. She's going to wear this whenever she is on a leash. How we put this on is we're just going to make a loop, put it over Roxy's head. When we put it on Roxy, we want to make sure it's nice and high right behind her ears. We are going to secure it by cinching this tab down so that way it stays nice and high and it doesn't fall off of her head. Then how we use this, say she is in the heel command. Heel is that nice loose leash walking on the left side. Say she starts to pull ahead or does something we don't want to see. We're going to say no, marking the incorrect behavior, follow through with a pop of the leash, and then we remind her heel. So no, pop, heel. Then of course, when she gets back to where we want her, we can give her verbal praise and treats to reinforce the behavior we want to keep seeing. Now with the remote collar, how we turn this on and off, red dots on both the remote and collar. We're going to touch these together. That green light means the collar is on and ready to go. On and off button on the back of the remote. We are going to push and hold until the screen lights up. You're going to see level 12 appear on the screen. This is Roxy's working level. And then we're going to focus on the black S button today. S just stands for stimulation, so it's kind of like an electric muscle stimulator. So how we use this, say she's in the heel again and she's starting to pull ahead. We're going to say no, marking an incorrect behavior, black S button, heel, no, button, heel. Then when she gets back, praise and treats so we can reinforce the behavior we want to keep seeing. Depending on the level of distraction Roxy has, you may use one of these, you may use both of these, depends on the situation that you are in. With the remote collar, it's going to be the first thing that we put on in the morning, and then it's going to be the last thing that we take off at night, so we always have that form of communication with Roxy throughout the day. With the slip collar, she's going to wear this whenever she's on a leash, so in the beginning she may have the leash on in the house just to introduce the new commands and new boundaries. Then we can slowly fade away from where we don't need the slip and the leash on in the house. So that is all of her equipment. Now let's go over her commands. We've already kind of gone over the heel, so about 80 to 90% of our walks should be in the heel position. The other 10 to 20%, you can give her her release word free. Free means she's not in any set command. This is going to be her time to go do her business. It's going to be her time to go enjoy the walk where we follow her rather than her following us. Now we have sit. Sit means stay is implied until she's given the release word free. This is really good for those door manners. So whether we're inside or outside, we're going to have Roxy sit. Sit means stay is implied. So as we're opening the door, if she gets up, we're going to follow through with the training equipment and get her back into the sit and then do it again until she gets it right. So we can set those same boundaries that we have here at the facility at home for her. So say she sits and she stays, great. We have two options. We can either free her through the door on her own or we can walk through the door with her and tell her heel. It's completely up to the situation that we are in. Now we have down. Down means stay is implied as well with all of the stay commands, whether it's down, place, or sit. We're never going to call her from a distance. So we're never going to put her in a stay command, walk 10 feet away from her, call her to us, because then she's going to get rewarded for coming to us and not staying in the stay command. So we want to make sure whenever we're doing stays, we always go back to Roxy and release her from where she's at so she gets rewarded for staying in whatever stay command we have her in. So with down, we can do a little bit of a distraction, whatever. We're going to go back to her and release her from where she's at. And when we're rewarding, we're going to reward low to the ground so that way she knows where that positive zone is. Say she gets up from the down and she comes to us. What we're going to do is we're going to take her back to wherever we had her in her down, put her back in the down, do whatever distraction we just did that made her get up, and then we can go back to her, reward her, and release her from where she's at. Now we have place. Place is a boundary stay, ideally on an elevated bed. This is a stay command as well. So just like with down or sit, we're never going to call her to us from place. With place, we can do a little distraction or whatever we're doing. Whenever we reward, we're going to reward on the place bed so she knows where that positive zone is. Whenever you first work on this, I would suggest having the leash on in the house so that way we can guide her back to the place bed whenever we work on this. Also, if you have bigger distractions coming over, I would put the leash and slip back on just so that those bigger distractions don't entice her to get off and we have no way to get her back onto the place bed. So if she stays, great. We're always going to go back to her and release her from where she's at. Now we have come when called. When practicing this one, I would suggest a 30 to 50 foot leash. So if she gets extra distracted doing whatever she's doing, we can reel her back in like a fish if we need to. So when we're practicing this one, we're going to give her that release word free. Let her go get distracted doing her own thing, because ideally when we need her to come back to us, it's going to be when she's off doing her own thing. So we'll let her get distracted. Whenever we want to call her to us, we're going to say come in a nice, loud, firm tone. Praise her as she's coming to us, backing up a little bit to invite her into our space, have her sit, and then we can give her the reward. Say she makes a mistake and we call her and she ignores us or she's a little extra distracted. We're going to say no, marking the incorrect behavior of not coming to us, follow through with the training equipment, and then we're going to call her again. And then we're going to go right back into praising, because just because she made a mistake out there doesn't mean we're going to be the positive zone. So even when she makes it back to us, we're going to give her a reward, because we're always the positive. And this is going to start building a positive or a reward history with coming into our space. So that way she knows that every time she comes into our space, there's going to be a reward that follows. With this one, it's really important to reward because we always want her to come back when we call her. So now we have leave it. Leave it just means don't grab that. So when you're practicing this one, I would suggest having the leash on too, so we can guide her into different scenarios if we need to. What you can do is start out with dog safe foods, toss it on the ground, say leave it. If she does, great. If not, follow through with the training equipment and guide her into a different situation. With this, you can either free her and let her get the food off the ground like we do in the videos, or you can never give her that option so she never thinks it's okay to get something off the ground. It's completely up to what you want from Roxy. Now that is all of Roxy's commands. So we're going to reinforce and reward things that we want to keep seeing, like following your commands. And then with things that we don't want to see, those unwanted behaviors, we're going to follow through with the training equipment so we can decrease those behaviors. So we're going to have fun, stay consistent, and now this is going to be Roxy doing her commands. Down. Good girl. Down. Good girl. Down. Good. Down. Down. Good. Down. Good. Down, Roxy. Good. Down. Free. Good girl, Roxy. Bless you. Roxy. Free. Good girl, Roxy. Good job. Good girl. Let's go over the other features of the remote. I know we've already gone over how to turn it on. Now let's go over how to turn it off. Same concept as turning it on. Red dots on both the collar and the remote we're going to touch these together. That red light means the color itself is off. Now we have to turn off the remote. On and off button on the back of the remote. Push and hold until the screen goes blank. Now we're going to turn it back on and go over the other buttons on the remote. We've already gone over that black S button. Black S button is going to be that number that you see on the screen. Then on the other side, we have a T button. This is a vibrate feature that we can use to kind of give Roxy a little bit of a warning, or we like to use it just to make sure that the collar is on and ready to go. On the other side of the remote, underneath the black S button, we have a red S button. This is a boost feature that we can use when Roxy is doing something dangerous that may cause her harm, like chasing after a car. What it is going to do is going to take her level from 12 all the way to 32. So whatever number is on the screen, it is going to jump it 20 levels. This is a quick way to grab her attention whenever she's in an elevated state of mind, whenever she's doing something dangerous. So whenever she's chasing a car, she's up here. Level 12 only reaches about here. So we have an instant way to communicate with her, so that way she doesn't get into an accident or anything like that, so that she knows to come back to us. Say level 12 isn't working for Roxy, whether it's too high or too low, say she's not responding to it, what we can do is hold down on this dial. What you're going to see is that 1D at the top of the screen flash. That means we can rotate this to whatever number works. This does have 100 levels, so she has a lot to work with. She's on the low end, so if you notice that 12 isn't working for her, no big deal. We can go up if we need to. So level 12's been good for her, so what I'm going to do is lock that back into place, so that way if we put it in our pocket, we don't accidentally change it. Now on the back of the remote, what we have is the on and off button. If you push and hold it, that turns it off, but it also has a flashlight feature. So what we can do is press it rather than holding it. It turns on a flashing flashlight. Second time is a solid flashlight. Third time turns off the flashlight. Right next to the on and off button, we have an M/C button, stands for momentary or continuous. At the beginning of Roxy's training, we start out at a very low level on continuous to introduce the remote in a positive way, and then we slowly regress to where we go into momentary at a little bit of a higher level. So she should stay on momentary the rest of her training. Now, the rechargeable ports right here on the remote is underneath the on and off button. For the collar, it is going to be in between the prongs right here. If she wears it for 12 to 14 hour days, it should stay charged for 2 days. So if you charge it every other day, you should be good. It does come with a dual charger, so you can charge them both at the same time. And then Roxy does have a little bit of longer hair, so if you notice that her prongs aren't making good contact, it does come with longer prongs, so if you have to put them on, no big deal. Right now the shorter prongs have been making good contact, but if she gets a little bit longer and you notice they are making good contact, you can absolutely switch her over. There's a manual at the bottom of the box, so if you want to go over any of the other features of the remote, or you're just one that wants to read instructions, absolutely go for it. There is a feature that you can change the vibrate feature into a tone feature if that's something that you want for Roxy. That is completely up to you. And then it does have a 2-year warranty, so if you need to get in contact with the company, say something goes wrong with either the collar or the remote, you can absolutely contact them and hopefully get a replacement or get something sent over. Both the remote and collar are waterproof, so if they get wet, not too big of a deal, but if she's going to stay wet for an extended period of time, I recommend moving the collar around so it doesn't just irritate one part of her neck from rubbing whenever she is wet. But that is all of the other features of the remote, so just like before, we're going to have fun, stay consistent, and that's everything.